When you think of military tech and the amount countries must spend on an annual basis on all this cool advanced weaponry, you'd think it would be something out of a science fiction movie. You'd have some strange advanced contraption that nobody really knows how it works, which of course costs billions and billions of dollars. But it's also possible to run some of the world's most highly advanced military equipment using a video games controller. Hello! Welcome to Brainspill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and the first time I saw this news article, it was quite a few years ago. But it basically said that military drones were being operated using an Xbox 360 controller. And although it's a particularly strange concept that a video games controller was being used to operate a flying death machine, at the time it didn't really faze me. It might have been at the time when I was a little bit younger, where I didn't quite grasp the concept of what was actually happening here, what the drone was and what it did. But at the same time, when I was younger and I saw this article, I think the thing that sprung to mind more was looking at this and thinking, well, I like video games and I like using my games controller to play my games, so this must be fun too. Which is a terrifying thing to think. So that got me thinking, what was the purpose behind this news story? Why were they doing this? Were they actually using game controllers to operate military hardware, or was there a more sinister reason behind it? Were they genuinely using game controllers to fire missiles at people in real life? Look, if you can pilot a tactical nuke in Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure you can do it in real life. I guess. This idea is not actually as crazy as you might think. Due to the Xbox 360 console, for example, having adaptability via a universal USB port, and having drivers available for Windows, OS and Linux machines, it's incredibly versatile and compatible with most operating systems. What better way to train your future soldiers than to train them with something that they've probably used many times before? A video games controller. US Marines were first noted using these controllers to operate drones in 2008, and there were some questions raised about it at the time. So, as a result of this, a blogger called Paul Maunders actually wrote to the British Army via a Freedom of Information request to query this further and to find out if the military actually did use game controllers, and more specifically, relating to an advert that was shown at the time, showing someone using an Xbox 360 controller. The response read as follows. The highly sophisticated mini unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, shown in the advert is the Desert Hawk 3, which is currently deployed on operations in Iraq. Desert Hawk 3 is a portable UAV surveillance system which provides aerial video reconnaissance. The equipment can be used for a variety of tasks, such as force protection for convoys and patrols, route clearance, base security, reconnaissance or target tracking. The system used to control the planes has been adapted by Lockheed Martin, and although the controller used by the soldiers to fly the plane is very similar to a Microsoft Xbox 360 controller, it is not the same. You will see that there is no Microsoft wording on the controller, nor a wired headset port. The advert demonstrates that the skills and abilities that an individual develops in their life prior to joining the army may have a critical application within the British Army on operations today. So, what you're telling me is that if I keep playing Halo 3, I should be good enough to then join the British military. So yeah, all those years gaming have obviously not gone to waste. That's one theory. But there is the more sinister version of events where possibly they're doing this as a way to try and attract people who are gamers, I guess. People that enjoy spending their time when they're younger playing video games and trying to coax them into the army using these. Yes, what better way to convince someone to join the army than give them something they love? Give them a games controller and then tell them to join the army. So yeah, this subtle messaging that makes you think that having a late night gaming session when you're actually blowing up a compound of maybe terrorists, maybe civilians, who knows, I just read the news a lot. Actually taking that quote from the British Army and breaking it down a little bit, they say that the controllers are very similar, except they've had a few minor changes to make them more suitable for use in the army. And that includes the fact of the audio jack being taken out of the controller, which is probably a good thing because I don't think the standard Xbox headset is going to quite cut it when it comes to joining the army. Yes, I know that we have talked mainly about the army, and you might think, well, other military branches surely aren't going to sink to this level. No one else is going to do something this silly. Well, you'd be wrong. More recently, the US Navy has started to use game controllers to operate periscopes aboard their Virginia-class submarines. Yep, and this ain't just a one-off, folks. This was actually reported on in 2017, 12 years after the Xbox 360 was released. Just goes to show how great of a controller it is for them to stick to doing what works. Most periscopes were operated by a single man who could rotate the top as needed to peer out. However, these new advancements in technology are building mini masts that can rotate 360 degrees. These have cameras on them which would display on the monitors both in the sub and back at mission control. So instead of using a standard joystick to do this, they have started to opt for the video games approach. The Navy got together and they asked a bunch of JOs and junior guys, what can we do to make your life better? And one of the things that came out is the controls for the scope. It's kind of clunky in your hand. It's real heavy. So yeah, you've got a bunch of junior guys who probably grew up playing video games, in particular the Xbox 360. And if you're going to give them any controller to try and operate this thing, then it may as well be a video games controller that they've used for years. Basically meaning that these junior guys who are going to be operating this are already familiar with the controller and are pretty much used to using it, effectively bringing your training down to an absolute minimum. That joystick is by no means cheap, and is only designed to fit on a Virginia-class submarine. I can go to any video game store and procure an Xbox controller anywhere in the world, so it makes a very easy replacement. Yes, because I'm sure in the heat of combat when your controller breaks and you need a new one, you can just pop to the local GameStop and get one yourself. Okay, so that's two examples. Two whole examples. Surely there can't be anything else like this. Well, there is. The US Army has also apparently started using Xbox controllers. These aren't isolated incidents, as a separate arm of the US Army is apparently using Xbox controllers that are used to operate high-energy laser mobile demonstrators. Basically, it's a huge fuck-off laser. And the reason behind its implementation was very similar to the two previous instances. It's cheap, it's reliable, it's easy, and it can shoot a goddamn laser. Honestly, I think at this point the minimum requirements for you to join the army should be that you need a KD of at least 1.5 in your favourite shooter. You know, before you hand that junior recruit a games controller which can shoot a literal fucking laser at someone. Okay, so we know that different military branches from different countries are starting to use these things. But it's not just Xbox game controller pads that are being used for this. The next scariest thing you'll see is a soldier who's going to pop out and whip out a Wiimote. Yeah, I ain't joking. This controller has been used as a US Army bomb disposal controller used to operate a robot called PackBot. The reason for this is that the Wiimote is considered to be more intuitive due to the sensor movements it has, which translates to movements in the robot. Yes, you can disarm a bomb using a Wiimote. Not only can you operate the robot using this Wiimote, but it also has hazard perception on it, such as the lights built in and the vibration feedback that can return signals to the user if the robot detects something in particular. And yes, as much as I'm goofing on this actually does sound really cool. So cool in fact, after a long hard day of bomb defusal, you can use that Wiimote to play some Smash Brothers afterwards. That last one isn't in the news article, but I'd imagine after a long hard day, what else are you gonna do with it? And, well, I could go on. There's a whole flurry of instances like this happening, and these are just a few to show you the extent of how they're incorporating games controllers into the military, which, have your own opinion on it, it's good in some ways, but also horribly terrifying in another way, so I'll let you be the judge of that. All you need is to push start to play. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. So I guess now a Wiimote could be considered a dangerous weapon, be it the Wiimote itself, which is used to defuse bombs, or at the very least being strong enough to be thrown against your TV and shattering the screen, which I'm sure many of us have seen before. So yeah, be careful out there folks. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic!